have a task in your business that you really need to do, but can't seem to get yourself to do it? You know, the things that you procrastinate on and don't get done till the very last minute or don't get done at all? Well, if that's you, you're going to love today's episode. Hi, I'm Dana Wilde, and you're listening to Positive Mindset for Entrepreneurs. This is the show where you discover how to build your business by training your brain and feeling good. Oh, yeah. If you want to be part of the Train Your Brain Sandbox, do make sure to go to danawilde.com/mantra. danawilde.com/mantra. Get your daily mantra every day and get that jolt of happy in your inbox. So today we had a listener write in, and it's actually a very, very long message. So I'm just going to try to pull out some of the highlights here. The main problem was procrastinating on making phone calls to customers. I need to make the phone calls for customer service. I know I'm leaving business on the table because I'm not making follow-up calls, and I need to turn it around so I can make those calls. Then she goes on to say that she's been doing some basic affirmations but can't seem to make any headway. And she grew up in a family that didn't really respect entrepreneurship. And so she's kind of battling that in the background too. And also that she likes where brain training's taken her so far. So thank you for that shout out. So here is the thing with this. And I can't say this strongly enough. All of us are raised in cultures where we get these messages that there's only one way to do things. The one way to do things is to do webinars. The one way to do things is to have a lead magnet. The one way to build a business in direct sales is to do in-home presentations. The one way to get follow-up business is to call your customers or be in touch with your customers. So we have these constantly, we're inundated. We have these messages that are being drilled into us over and over and over again. So we get these messages in our brains and we start thinking that way. We start thinking like, I would be getting follow-up business, except I'm not making client calls. I need to make client calls or I'm not going to make any money. I need to make client calls or I'm not going to make any money. And anybody who's listening, fill in the blank with your thing. What is your thing that you're saying? Like, I need to do this thing or I'm not going to get a client. I need to do this thing. I need to be on TikTok. I need to, right? What is your thing that you're hearing over and over again in your brain? What's the story you're telling? Because whatever story you're telling, the reticular activating system part of your brain, the little matchmaker that lives in our head, is matching that story up. It's generating impulses to have you take different actions that create different results and not the results you want. So how do we create a business the way we want to create it? The first thing to know, if you're a brain trainer, is that you can have your business your way. You can do whatever you want to do to build your business and have it be successful, because it's not what we do or don't do. It's how we talk about and think about what we do or don't do. So I want to say that again. It's not what we do or don't do to build our businesses that make us successful. It's what we think about what we do or don't do. It's what we talk about what we do or don't do. So you can make the phone calls and be successful, or you can not make the phone calls and be successful. The only difference is the way you speak about it. So let's just take a moment, because I know some people out there are going, what? Let's just take a moment and talk about the side of what if you didn't make the phone calls, and could you still be successful? How would you talk about it if that's what you were going to do? So let's assume, and I don't think this is you necessarily, but I'm just covering all my bases here. Let's assume that you have had the story that says, if I don't make those phone calls, I'm not going to make any money. Well, what if you could shift that story to be almost like you were the example to be held up for others of someone who's building your business anyway? It's almost like this feeling of, I'm not even making phone calls and business is coming to me. I don't even have time to make phone calls because so much business is coming to me. I don't know where these people are hearing about me, but they're finding me. It must be word of mouth. It must be referrals, but I don't even have time to do phone calls and they're still finding me. You could make it something completely different. You could say, I know in this business, most of the time people make follow-up phone calls, but I find email works for me. I send follow-up emails and I get so much business in. I have a good relationship with my clients and I get so much business from emails or from my Facebook group or from texting or fill in the blank. So we get locked in to these ideas that there's only one way, and the one way is making phone calls. That's it. We have to do follow-up phone calls. That's it. There's no other way to make money. Well, how ridiculous, right? Like, it's so silly when you think of it that way. Like, how do we get into these loops? And we do. We all do it. Me too. When you think of it that way, it's so obvious, isn't it? That wouldn't you love a business where you were legitimately out talking to people saying, you know what, I don't even have time to do phone calls because I've got so much business coming in and word of mouth is so good and I've got so many people calling me and it's so good. So I'm not going to go into that story in depth because I don't think that's you. I think you actually want to make the phone calls. But if that is you, where you want to find a way to tell that story, just ease into it the best you can. Start finding your entry point with thinking about that particular subject. So start thinking little baby thoughts in your head that sound like, you know, I like this idea of being a brain trainer, and it's really interesting to think that I could get referrals, and I actually do already get referrals, and I love the idea of juicing that up, and I love the idea that, you know, people are referring me and my business is good and clients have a good relationship with me and they reach out to me and I could see where I could talk about that more and I could think about that more. And really there's a lot of truth in that. Like I can think of people off the top of my head that I've got good relationships with. And so there's truth in it and I can think more and more about that possibility of happening more in the future. And the more I think about it, the better it feels. And I like the idea that more and more people would come in. So start to find a way to say those sentences that really help you to feel good about that path. You know, you can't stop thinking the thought, I need to make phone calls to make money. You can't stop thinking that thought, but you can replace it with a new story, with a new thought. All right. Now, having said all of that, I get, because you did write a very long email, I get from your email that you actually do want to make the phone calls. It sounds like you're happy when you do it. You love the connections. It does turn out to be an easy way for you to make money and get follow-up business. And so I'm going to give you some verbiage that you can use because, again, it's not what we do or don't do. It's how we talk about what we do or don't do. And right now you've got a story going that sounds like, I can't get myself to do it. I can't seem to make headway. I'm procrastinating on this. I can't seem to do it. I'm always procrastinating on this. I'm procrastinating. I can't seem to get myself to do it. I can't get myself to do it. Well, listen, I said I can't get myself to do it. What, 5 times there? I wouldn't feel like doing it either after saying that. So we have to be mindful of like the things we're saying to ourselves. And it makes me crack up when I bust myself. So I hope it makes you crack up too, to think like, of course, how can I sit and say, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like doing that over and over again and expect to feel like doing it. And for everybody listening right now, like bust yourself. What thing do you keep saying, I don't feel like doing? When if you just would stop saying that, and again, don't stop saying that, replace it with something else, you would start to see a different result. Like right now, if you just started saying, and I am not kidding, just start saying, I'm starting to feel like doing that. I'm feeling more and more like doing that. I'm starting to feel like doing that. I'm starting to feel like making calls. I'm starting to feel more like doing that. I'm starting to feel like making calls. I'm starting to feel more and more like I want to make calls. I'm starting to feel like making calls. I'm starting to feel like making calls. I challenge you, you cannot do that for 60 to 90 seconds without being like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm going to go make those calls. It's impossible. It's impossible to say that over and over and over again and not feel like making calls. And so start doing that for starters. Start doing that. The next thing I can give you is that know that every time you're going to make calls, juice your brain up in that way and it will make it easier. So set up your physical environment where you put out like whatever the contact cards or the stuff on your computer that gives the contact number. If you've got a little script you follow, keep the script here. Have some snacks, have some, essential oils that you can sniff so that you can feel happy when you're doing it. Like set up your physical environment so that things are nice for you. After you know your physical environment set up, your phone is charged, you're got the allotted time, it's the time to do it. Before you sit down to call, take that time to just say any old sentences that get you fired up. So here are some examples. You can just use some of these sentences. So the sentences would sound something like, my space is prepared. I'm ready to go. I love the idea of juicing up my brain and feeling better about this. And I love the idea of using my brain to get excited about this. And I do love my customers. And I have to say, I pride myself on giving good customer service. And I love connecting with people and really helping them. Like, I think I'm a helper at heart. And it feels so good to be of service. And I love getting surprise stories. And I love having heart-to-heart connection, and I love really just showering my clients with goodness. And so that's why I love making phone calls so much, and I can feel the energy building up in me, and I can feel like I'm getting more excited to do it, and I know it's going to be such an awesome session. I can't wait to find out who I actually talk to and who I leave voice messages for, and it's going to be so fun to have those connections. And I have this idea that by the time I'm done, something magical is going to happen, and I really can't wait to sit down and get started. I'm starting to feel the energy already of getting started. I'm starting to feel more and more like I can't wait to go, and it's going to feel so fun to do that. And I can't wait to sit down and start making calls, and it's going to be so fun to have those connections. And I can't wait to see what magic happens when I talk to these people. And I really love being of service. It feels so good to be of service. I love having those connections, and we have such fewer opportunities for those real heart-to-heart connections. And so this is my way of really giving back and really feeling that love from my clients too. It feels so good to have that give and take, and I can't wait to get started. And I'm feeling more like getting started, and I can't wait to get started, and I'm ready to go, and I'm feeling ready to go, and oh my gosh, I'm feeling ready to go. I can't wait to get started, right? So imagine doing that. How long do you think you could do that before you'd sit down and be like, yeah, let's have the magic happen? It's so ridiculously simple, isn't it? It's so ridiculously simple. We have these massive computers in our heads. We have these amazing brains that support us in every possible way. And so many of us just use it to complain, right? We use our brains to complain or to make our grocery list or all of these things that we do. And what if we could start being more proactive and really thinking about the lives we want to create and thinking about who we want to be as we go about our lives, who we want to be as we show up in the world. And if this is something you want to do, then without a doubt, when you start speaking about it differently to yourself, you're going to feel that internal pull, that internal feeling that says like, yeah, I can't wait to do that. That's the place you want to act from. And without a doubt, you've totally got this.